Business Network for the strong, not the weak.
Herbs that promote the health of our immune systems, which help us kill viruses and fight off infections. Be sure to watch until the very end because there's one that far too many people overlook. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Before we go any further, just know that we are not doctors. This video is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Please speak with your doctor for medical advice and treatment. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about which herbs are most beneficial for the health of the immune system of the human body. First and foremost, we have elderberry. Now you've probably heard of this one and maybe you've even tried it at some point because it's a plant that has become wildly popular over recent years. The reason is elderberry is known for its antimicrobial, antibacterial, and antifungal properties. This makes it great for boosting the immune system and treating colds, infections, and viruses. Elderberry is also referred to as sambucus, and it's most commonly consumed in the form of a cough syrup. In order to give your immune system a boost, you can strive to take 1 dose of elderberry per day. Or if you're already sick, you can look into increasing the frequency of your dosages. Keep in mind that, although elderberry is generally considered to be safe, you don't want to overdo it. As always, be sure to check with your doctor for the recommended uses and dosages. I'll drop links to all of our favorites right below this video down in the description. Next up is mullein. It's an herb that has traditionally been used as a remedy for the lungs and respiratory tract thanks to its soothing ingredients. The mullein leaf has antibacterial properties that fight against both gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. That is why this herb is a great way to boost the immune system. Not to mention, some studies found that it even has antiviral and antifungal properties as well that can combat different viruses and fungi. This trifecta is good when it comes to treating breathing issues that are associated with colds and respiratory infections. The most practical way to consume mullein is as an herbal tea, or you can add a few drops of concentrated extract to other beverages as well. Coming in at number 3 is ginseng. It's an herb that has been used in traditional Asian medicine for centuries. Ginseng is known for its potent antioxidant properties, which works well for fighting inflammation. Not only is this beneficial for your lungs, it's good for pretty much every organ and system in the human body. Not to mention, studies found that ginseng also can provide a boost to the immune system as well. It works by building the immune cells in our body that help fight and ward off viruses and infections. Another great thing about ginseng is studies found it to be beneficial for those with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, aka COPD, which is the 3rd leading cause of death in the United States. Next we have astragalus. This herb became popular in Chinese medicine and is known for its antibacterial and anti-inflammatory components. Studies found that the astragalus root can boost the body's resistance to infections and increase immune responses. This makes it a great option for those who want to strengthen their immune system and decrease their chances of being infected by certain viruses and bacteria. Astragalus has been used to treat a wide variety of ailments such as the common cold, allergies, and even chronic fatigue. The next herb that we need to talk about is eucalyptus. The eucalyptus tree originated in Australia and has been a source of food for wildlife for hundreds of years. It wasn't until later on that humans discovered its positive health benefits. The leaves of a eucalyptus tree can be distilled and diluted into an essential oil which can be used for medicinal purposes such as treating sinus congestion, common cold, fever, and other respiratory ailments. Eucalyptus has a component called cineol, which is an active ingredient that works as an expectorant. This means that it can ease a cough and aid in the removal of secretions. Cineol has antioxidant and antimicrobial effects that can provide a boost to your immune system as well. It reacts with the mucous membranes of the lungs and helps loosen up secretions so that they can be coughed up more easily. Real quick guys, do me a huge favor and hit the like button. It really helps support the channel and I greatly appreciate it. And while you're down there, go ahead and click the subscribe button as well because we have a ton of other videos on our channel that I think you will enjoy. I hope you like the tips that were shared in this video. Millions of people around the world suffer from all different types of viruses and infections. Thankfully, Mother Nature has our backs by providing us with these amazing herbs that can be used as a natural alternative to traditional drugs. Oftentimes, even with fewer side effects as well. So just to give a quick recap, the herbs that were mentioned to boost your immune system are elderberry, mullein, ginseng, astragalus, and eucalyptus. And to be honest, these are just a few examples. There are plenty of others that I could have included. A few honorable mentions that didn't make it into this video are garlic, cat's claw, turmeric, dried oregano, fire cider, and olive leaf. Each of these herbs also have some amazing benefits when it comes to boosting the immune system. Who knows? Maybe we'll cover them in a future video. So if you haven't already subscribed, definitely go ahead and do that now because I would hate for you to miss out. Keep in mind though to always check with your doctor for medical advice and treatment because they will know more about your individual condition. Just one final reminder, this video is for informational purposes only. But hopefully you got a lot out of it and hopefully you're now one step closer to taking better care of your immune system and improving your overall health. Which of these herbs do you like? Which ones do you...
You are listening to the End of the Bench podcast on Built for This Network, hosted by my man, HRap.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, or whatever, whichever case fits. Thank you for tuning in. This is your man, HRap coming at you live and direct again. We have a wonderful show for you today. This is on Built for This Network on Spreaker.com. I want to make sure you tune in. This is a simulcast, and I always say that before every show because it is. You can listen to me anytime you like on Spreaker.com. This is a podcast. I say this, I remind you of this every week because it is a shaky situation in regards to exchanging information. So, when you're listening to a podcast, you can tune in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can catch me on Spreaker.com, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, as well as Podcast Addict. Oh, and new to the family is Amazon Prime. If you have a subscription to any of those, or you can subscribe to any of those and then catch me at your earliest convenience. And you can listen to it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at your pace. Now, if you're tuning in now live, I want you to hit the like button. Please hit the like button, then hit the share button, then hit the subscribe button, and there's a little bell, and then you get a notification every time I come to life. Thank you for tuning in as I do this every week. I acknowledge my family. My ancestors and my living family are the reason I am successful at this. And without their support and their backing, I wouldn't be as successful as I have been. I want to thank everybody connected to me in my throughout my entire lineage. That includes the Whitmore family: Pollard, Turner, Battle, Cotton, Harper, Bailey, Chris Lansdowne Thompson, Liggins, Duncan, and anybody who knows me knows my mother, my father, my sisters, brothers, nieces, and nephews. We are the Williams clan, and every week we are in the building. Now, with that out of the way, thank you again for tuning in. I got my man D from Fine as Wine Cooking. Please subscribe to his channel, and I want you to tune in. I want to salute everybody who's come in, and thank you. I have a interesting show this week, and it's going to, probably rub some people the wrong way, but I do that every week, so it's nothing new. And what I want to do is talk to you about a few things. And what I'm going to start off with, I'm going to throw a salute at everybody who knows me, knows I'm an HBCU guy. I want to salute the HBCUs that are currently using COVID relief to forgive debt. First and foremost, thank you, because you have a lot of people from inner cities going to HBCUs who they are the first people from their lineage attempting to attend a university or a college or whatever you want to call it, or any institution of higher learning. Just leave it there. And because they're using funds for COVID relief, they're able to forgive debt. When you forgive debt, hopefully people will return and give back. And that is the circle of life when it comes to academia. And that's how your school gets a larger endowment. That's how schools carry on and hopefully let that money trickle down to the professors. As I told you a couple of weeks ago, you have professors at institutions of higher learning that are living below the poverty line simply because institutions, what they do is go get rock star professors. Hey, we have Dr. Cornell West. We have this guy. We have our esteemed brother, Michael Eric Dyson. He's there at Vanderbilt, and I think Cornell West is going down to Howard. And then they cheat the other people at the institution. This is why people struggle, and this is why we continue to struggle. But this isn't just an HBU situation. This is an academia situation. Institutions throughout the United States of America are mistreating educators because when you enhance education, and I do mean education, not teaching, not training. When you enhance education, what happens is the people rise. And when the people rise, the foolishness that goes on at state capitals and in D.C. year round, this thing is continued and perpetrated consistently. So what we want to do is put ourselves in a situation to where, hey, people in our community support HBCUs. If you can, if that's what you like to do, please support HBCUs. And HBCUs, how about this? You're targeting an impoverished, a slightly impoverished community, a slightly underserved community. How about this? To truly entice people to come, lower the cost of education. Because if you know, and I know, and everybody else in the whole world knows, that HBCUs are not getting the attention that they're supposed to. Our community is not getting the attention that it's supposed to get. So how in the heck are we supposed to send people to an institution like Howard, Morris Brown University, Clark Atlanta, Prairie State, or wherever you wanted to go, Fisk in Tennessee, or South Carolina State, or wherever you want to attend? How are they supposed to leave with $100,000 in debt, and they're not going to get a job that's going to be conducive to paying off $100,000 in debt? But if we use these institutions of higher learning to uplift our community, uplift and create the next set of doctors, create the next set of lawyers, create the next set of politicians, lawmakers, and policymakers, then we can put ourselves in a position in which we can and will be able to afford these institutions. And at that point, the price really is irrelevant. But until we do that, we continue to saddle ourselves with that. And when we saddle ourselves with that, we put ourselves behind the 8 ball. So it's basically the dog chasing its tail. And I'm going to need you to do that. But still, even with that being said, bringing that to the forefront, I do commend every institution that has forgiven that. We should be waiting on my man Michael Smith to show up, billionaire, one of the big time philanthropists, billionaires. Every time he shows up at an institution, he wipes away the debt. We shouldn't have to do that. But if we had other people doing that, we can get ourselves in a better situation, and institutions lowering the cost of education. And I don't want to hear this nonsense about, hey man, you got to pay these people because those people, the people that you're talking about paying nationwide, city to city, coast to coast, prairie to prairie, are not being taken care of. So I don't want to hear this nonsense. And if you're sitting back thinking that, I'm sorry, that's not what's going on. If you're an instructor or educator at any level, you're being underpaid. Period. I know a lot of people, people throw things out there. Well, what about the teachers and this? Look, we are supposed to be working the academic system as a community first and foremost. And if you're not using it as a communal situation, you're abusing it, and then that's a whole nother conversation. So just listen to what I'm saying. I'm a chew up the meat, spit out the bones kind of guy. If you chew up the meat of what I'm saying, digest it, spit out the bones of things that you don't like, then we can continue to move forward in a positive way to enhance our community. That's what I'm here for. And that's it. If you look at the tagline of the show, it's conversations by us, for us, to improve us. So am I right? Maybe not. Maybe what I'm saying can turn you off or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's done from a good place. And I understand the path, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but I'm speaking what I do believe. So this leads me to the crux of the conversation today. Of course, I got a lot of other things to talk about, but this is the most important topic today. This right here is the most important topic today. What do you owe? What do I owe the people who are listening to me? What do you owe the people who listen to you and endear themselves to you? And I don't mean the people who are blood related to you. I mean the people who live in your community, the people who look like yourself, the people myself. What do you owe me? What do you owe people that you don't know that look like you? And the reason I bring this up is, I'm going to be honest with you. I've gone through a hell of a week. I'm not going to go into detail, but I've had one hell of a week, probably the worst week of my entire life. Now, when I went through this week, last night on the show called The Forecast, me, my man Dog, Ben, and Wilkes, we do the forecast on every Monday, 9 p.m. So we were talking about the Summer of Soul. Please tune in and support that show as well. We talking about the Summer of Soul, right? And we talked about the impact that soul music had. And you had artists, you had people who are viewers, participants, crying as they relived that moment because it touched them dearly. And at one point, the reason I'm talking about this, at one point the music and our community uplifted us. It empowered us. It made us feel like we were worthy. And then it created a brotherhood and a kinship to the point that even to this very day, the artists that were on that stage, the people who perform, and some people who were cut off because we talk about a 90-minute, 2-hour documentary. You can't get 168 acts and then deliver what you're really trying to do in 2 hours. Now, what I want you to understand is, the reason I'm saying this, you had people, 300,000 people standing shoulder to shoulder and grooving. My man Doc mentioned something last night, and it reminded me of the Chicago Fest. See, if you're old enough, you remember this thing called the Chicago Fest. Me and Jane Burns stole it and called it Taste of Chicago. It's one of the biggest events in Chicago today. But Chicago Fest was headed by Johnson Publishing Company. The biggest name at the time was his brother that you all know. His name is Tom Joyner. And he had Betty Wright, Brothers Johnson, and a whole bunch of big other acts. And it created a feeling. You had, if you can, Google Chicago Fest or JPC and Betty Wright, Tonight is the Night Live in the Jet magazine. You can do it. And you'll see literally 10 or 15,000 people in Chicago grooving to some of the best music you ever heard. And that was infectious. That was the one I'm speaking of, is in New York. And they spoke about the revolution. And they talked about brotherhood and kinship. And this was what made me lead the show off of this. What do you owe the people in your community? And this is purely my opinion. You can disagree if you like, but you owe us everything. And I owe you everything. I owe, and just so happened I was at Big Illinois. So shout out to Big Illinois. My birthday is Friday. His brother's birthday was last week, and our homeboy Drake's birthday is in the middle. So Big Illinois threw a cookout for us this weekend, and thank you. And we were sitting in the back talking about what we owe each other and how we used to roll and things of that nature. And we talked about things how, like, the people who would jump up the fastest and run to your mother's assistance with the grocery bags and things of that nature were the people that we call gangbangers today, the hoodlums, the thugs. So these people have been written off as the dregs of humanity. But if they can stand up in the midst of the chaos that they're creating and participating in and stop whatever they're doing and help your mother, your grandmother with their bags, that is a community that I need to be a part of again. Our sisters, whether they be our aunts, our ladies, our daughters, our mothers, or grandmothers, should not be in fear as they walk through our community. Because again, me and Big Illinois, you've heard me speak about this several times, several dozen times, or probably even several hundred times. Me and Big Illinois grew up in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the United States of America. We grew up in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in Chicago. We grew up in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the United States of America. But guess what? Our mothers didn't feel that. Our sisters didn't feel that. Our grandmothers didn't feel that. Nobody of the queen stature, queen and princess stature, no woman felt that because it wasn't for them to feel. And Chicago is the gang capital of the United States of America. But if one thing about Chicago, as many flaws that we have, I don't know about the streets now, but if you wasn't with the nonsense, you didn't have to participate in. People would address you, literally address you. Hey, what you doing over here? Oh man, I'm going over here to see sister girl right here. Okay, go ahead on. And they'll leave you alone. Or if you were a ball player or something of that nature, it's something it was official saying you get the hooper pass. Because we don't want to bother you because you're not with us. And again, if the people who we dismiss as nobodies in need, they're the problem. If they have the wherewithal to do this, how is it that we've lost the ability to communicate with a young man? Or how do we lose the ability to communicate with a young lady? The sisters communicate with young ladies. How is it that we have the inability to exercise just regular communication skills, saying, hey, don't do that. That's not for you. Again, I can remember a guy who used to be immersed in the gang culture. And I remember him telling the guy in my group, hey man, going back over there with your boys. This ain't for you. Now the dude didn't take heed to it, and he on the run for murder as we speak. But the rest of us did. And you can't save everybody. But if you can save me, my cousin Mike, my cousin Vince, Rick, Walt, Sugar Bad, and a couple other guys, James Trouble, a couple other guys, yeah, it was worth it. And we owe that to each other. See, it's easy to sit back and look down your nose at people who have made a mistake. And how about like what I said today on Facebook? You want to look down your nose at somebody who made a mistake that you got away with? That's crazy. It's crazy, insanity, and it's not cool. And it's not, hey man, but I made it out. No, but because here's the deal. I played the Powerball today. If I hit the Powerball, I'm not gonna start rocking with Big Illinois and Steve and Anu and Boyd. I'm Dre. I'm not gonna stop rocking with them. I'm gonna uplift them. You know what I hit the Powerball for $100 million. You ain't gonna have no bills. And that's what it's about. You reach back and give to the people who are connected to you, and even give to the people who don't. In my visor, above my car, my sun visor, I have about 17 singles. And every time I pull up on the corner and a homeless man says, hey man, you got some money, I shoot him $1. It ain't killing me. You think $17, $20, $25 gonna kill me? But you know what? It may have made his day. And that's the mentality we must pick up again. When I was leaving, I had a situation a week ago. When I was leaving Walgreens, I saw a man who was without a home, in a wheelchair, fall out of his wheelchair. I picked him up and put him back in his wheelchair. And I share a little more. I was in an accident, and I'm suffering the last little stages of concussion and still suffering from whiplash. So with whiplash, I picked the grown man up and put him in his chair. Because you know what? No matter how much pain I was in, him laying on the street at that night was way worse than whatever I was dealing with. And I'm not saying that because I'm better than anybody. I'm saying that because you are equal to me. You are equal to me, and we must return to that. Stop with the pissing and moaning about what we can and what should happen. I'm going to need you to listen to my man, Ray the Cab. Ray the Cab is a guest on my show frequently, and he has his own channel as well. But I'm going to need you to do what Ray the Cab said. We don't need reparations. We don't need government assistance. We don't need anything. You know what we need? We need each other. We need each other. And when we start helping each other, that will be the only time we get further along in this situation. No. It's easy to point the finger and identify what somebody else has done wrong. Before you do that, what I want you to do is think about all the wrong you did and got away with it. See, it's easy to say, hey, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have gotten high. You shouldn't have done this, and you should have worked harder. But you know what? We all have sinned. You know, for those who believe in Christ, or even if you believe in Islam, because if you believe in Islam, you know the Holy Quran refers you back to the Bible, and the Bible refers you to study. So that means you know this scripture. He, without the first sin, cast the first stone. So, if you have sinned, I'm going to need you to help these young people who you consider lost. But the key to that helping them is not talking at them. You need to talk to them. And when you talk to them, you will get further. And they are not crazy. And they're not wild animals. They're none of that. They're none of those things. They are young human beings. And guess what? When you were young, you had a PhD in the same thing they have a PhD in. And making mistakes, because we were all guessing. And if you wasn't guessing, God bless you. Thank you for not guessing and figuring it out. But the rest of us who are honest with themselves, we were guessing and we were making a lot of mistakes. It don't have to be a catastrophic, I'm using drugs, I'm gangbanging mistake. Some of us had kids young. Some of us did a lot of things and got away with it. And if you're one of those people, then understand. And just because you got away with it, or even if you didn't, you've made mistakes in life. So if you haven't made a mistake, then hey man, ignore everything I'm saying, go on with your life. Or how about this? You're the number one person to talk to those people. Hey man, I didn't do that, and you see why I am. Because obviously, if you ain't making any mistakes, you must be a millionaire. And if you're a millionaire, I need you to donate to my show, and then I'm gonna need you to help the community. That's it. Oh my God, here. But seeing how a lot of people who are listening to this have made mistakes, I'm gonna need us to step up and stop being judgmental. And the only way we're gonna improve each other is to improve each other, and that's better interpersonal conversation, interpersonal interaction, and upliftment of the community. Again, this is Black Philanthropy, Charity Month. Man, crazy. But this is the month that you do something charitable for Black people. It's not promoted like Black History Month. It's not promoted like in June, Black Music Month. But philanthropic activities for Black people, this is that month. I'm sure some of us don't even know that. So if we can make that a year-long thing, you know how we always arguing about, hey man, make Black History Month the whole year. Okay. Philanthropy should be all year too. You want to give back to your brothers. And I learned this, rock up on my man Ivan. The more you give, the more you'll get back. And don't do it to get back. Just do it. Because if you're tired of your community being jacked up, if you step up, hopefully somebody else will step up, and then it'll be a trickle-down effect. And if you're trickling down good, then, and it comes back, just imagine, man. When it comes back, just imagine. So instead of sitting around saying what we should do and what should happen. This is what we can do. What we can do is do charitable things for our community. It doesn't always have to be money. Go to a senior home and help paint. You got an unemployed cousin, brother, aunt, uncle, or whatever. Won't y'all just go to a place and say, hey, what can we do? Pick up the trash around the place. Beautify the community. You see, when people take care of things, even the people from the outside kind of tread lightly. They don't, if you stomping through the hood in its traditional sense, with trash, bottles everywhere, like the Message song, broken glass everywhere, people pissing on the street, they just don't care. When you walk through that neighborhood, you don't care. You eating a bag of chips, you get that chips, you might not even ball it up, you throw it on the ground. But when you walk through a neighborhood adjacent to that neighborhood, and the lawns are manicured and everything is painted, you'll even lower your voice. So how about we start beautifying in front of our houses and then the neighbor's house? And if you live in the north, like I do, when that snow comes, a couple old ladies on your block, knock that snow out the way. 11 years ago, my mother was sick. I was taking care of her, and I went outside. It snowed. It snowed knee high, and my mother was like, "Okay, did you do the ladies next door and the man next door?" And initially, I was like, "The man," but then I realized that man next door did my mother's get down. So when my man came out that morning ready to shovel, I was done. Now, I ain't gonna lie, like I was feeling good. I hated it. I was like, God damn it. But you know what? It didn't kill me either. So as we move forward, if we want better, we must do better. And if we do better, we'll get better results. And when we get better results, then we can stop. We can stop with the nonsense, man. We can stop with the nonsense. And again, I told y'all about when I was at Big Illinois House. My sister Kim was there. She just came in the chat room. And me and her had this exact same conversation. So I'm going to give credit to this show, to my sister Kim. Because these are the exact same things me and Kim talked about Sunday. And it wasn't just lip service. And we're going to have to start doing it because it's not just us in the world. It's everybody in the world. But guess who don't give a damn about us? The rest of the world. So if everybody don't care about you, your cousins and your sisters and your brothers, y'all galvanize and y'all make sure can't nobody break through that. So it's time for us to galvanize. We have to stop talking about the 60s and the 50s and the 40s because it's the 2000s. We can only do what we can do now. And as I always say, like Marcus Garvey said regularly, what an African has done, an African can do. And if we had unity once upon a time, it's only a matter of effort to reestablish that unity and put ourselves in a better position. Stop crying. Don't nobody owe us anything, and nobody's going to give us anything. So since we know that, we understand that, let's just do what we have to do. Because I'm going to tell you something, man. You hear this all the time. Anytime things start going bad. Hey, man, these the last days. You can read this in the Bible and you'll realize it's the last days. I got a question for the people in the chat room. How did January 6th affect you? What did it put on your mind? I tell y'all what it put on my mind. What it did was bring it to my attention that we are reliving the end. And I mentioned this on the forecast last night. That this is a reenactment of the end of the 60s going into the 70s. Back then you had sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You had the sexual revolution. You had the black revolution. You had a president that everybody hates, everybody thought was crook. He ended up being a crook. Richard Milhouse Nixon, and now we got Donald J. Trump leaving the office, and then we got another dude who I'm not enamored with at all. let the record show. All you have to do is go to the archives and build for this network, and you will hear me say on a show called The Backyard, hosted by my man Big Illinois, we need to elect Joe Biden and then start looking for his replacement immediately. And we see that. See, it's easy to sit around and say what he's not doing, but what we have to do is start making these people do things. Again, me and my sister Kim talking, and we have to download the 5 Calls app. 5 Calls app. It's an app that connects you to your government officials. And when you start, and see, it's easy to complain to Kim, Big Illinois, my sister Teddy, my sister Phyllis, Treat. It's easy to complain to them. But what we have to do is start complaining directly up the food chain. The aldermen, your state reps, your state senators, U.S. senators, governors, or whichever one. Like, you ain't got to do your aldermen. Do state senators, state reps, U.S. senators, governors, and mayor, or whatever you want to do. However you want to do it, but we can no longer just complain to each other because they are organized. You saw that. They're organized and they're ready to fight. Period. Anytime you redo an insurrection from 200 years before, because that's not the first time that has happened. It happened in Wilmington, North Carolina, right? The home of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. You had black people doing Reconstruction get elected to office. These white folks that said we ain't having it, stormed the Capitol, hung a bunch of black people. They were successful, and then they changed things. So don't think their ancestors are not thinking the same thing. That's just the truth. You saw it. I don't want to hear about anything where you can't include everybody. Well, you know what? As the great Muhammad Ali, our ancestor, the great Muhammad Ali said, if it's 10,000 snakes running at you or trying to bite you, do you stop and try to weed through and get if it's 10,000 bad snakes trying to kill you and 1,000 good snakes trying to fight for you, do you weed through all the bad snakes and then look for the good snakes, or do you just lock them all out and figure it out later? And that's what we're at, that inflection point. It's time for us. Again, man, it really just falls back on us. Look, as the government stands, the government officials are not going to do anything we don't force them to do by calling in and saying, hey, I'm Brian Williams, and that's my real name. Brian Williams. I am a registered voter, and I'm sick of this pothole in front of my house. I'm sick of the underfunded schools. I'm sick of the fact that we don't have any trash receptacles on our block. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of just every day. 7 days a week, because all of those calls will be logged. And when all those calls are logged, just imagine if everybody who's listening to this today download the 5 Calls app, and for the next 7 days until the next show, well, actually the next show is Saturday, but the next show like this, if we all made complaints 7 days a week. And again, if we've made it out of our bad situation, we got cousins, nieces, nephews, friends, and other relatives and family members that are not living as well as we are. So call for their neighborhood. If we do this, then we move forward. Exactly. And as Kim said, time is the best gift you can give. So this is what it's time to do, because those people don't think they woke up the 5th and said, we're going to all go to D.C. They started that like today. And if we don't get what we're going to, or better yet, they started that in November. And they was like, if this isn't fixed, we taking it down. I'm not telling anybody to start an insurrection, because that would be asinine, because y'all know it'd be a lot more casualties. And the casualties put out there would not be police officers, they'd be your brothers and sisters. But what we can do is something else. And I've done this. I've done this to the effect, and it was effective. I came home one night. It's about almost 8 years ago. I had paid my cable bill that morning, because I pay everything automated. Everything's on my phone. Boom, 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 I'm gone. I set it up on my phone, reminders of cable bill day, automatic pay. Paid the cable bill that morning. Came home, my cable was off, and they was telling me I owed $300. And the lady was tripping. And I mean, cable off, I called the lady, start tripping. For the very first time I did this, I went to Twitter. I'm real popular on Twitter. I went to Twitter and said, Comcast is full of it. I wouldn't take their services if they gave them to me. Now, it was AT&T at the time. So I wouldn't take their services if they gave them to me. And I had sent 2 minutes later, it was in my inbox, hey, can we get your phone number? And call back. They reduced my bill. Long story short, short story shorter. They reduced my bill for the maximum package. At the time, it was like $250 a month I was paying. When I hung up the phone, I had the exact same package, and I paid $160, and my son still has that same package to this very day. $160. So when you complain upward, that's when I really figured it out. Complaints up actually work because they got somebody on staff watching Twitter. So if you diss them on Twitter, they coming at you. Hey, man, I did it with Chase. Someone hacked my account, stole $2,000 from me. Chase is very good about that. They put the $2,000 back in my account. And they said, we can send you a card in 7 to 10 days. I was like, let me try this Twitter thing again. Went right to Twitter. Chase is full of it. They playing with me. They don't want me to get my money. Boom, boom. Overnight, I had my card in the morning. Politicians work the same way. Their job is to service you first and foremost. But most important, they want to get reelected, especially in the state of Illinois. You might have the worst politician in the state of Illinois. If he get elected, he is killing somebody if he can get reelected. Because if he get reelected, he get a pension for the rest of his life. He get a pension for the rest of his life. So if you want to be reelected, you're going to do what we need you to do. But what I've noticed, I'm 50, what I've noticed is we are good to complain laterally. And again, that's some ancestral nonsense. That's what we've learned from being in bondage and being enslaved. Because we couldn't complain up, because if you complain up, it might cost you your life. And we've passed it down. So the buck stops here. We must start complaining up. And when you complain up, you'll be in a better position. And then that's how because what we're doing, we're going to follow my 10-year plan. And that 10-year plan is to complain upward up until and including the moment we get our own people in there. Our sons, our daughters, our nieces, nephews, cousins, and grandsons. And we get them in office and they're going to do our bidding and they can set laws and they can reduce some of this voter suppression and things of that nature. But until we're going to play this complaint game, and guess what? When our kids ain't doing right, they ask to be replaced too. Because we're not playing this game. We're not playing this game the way it's been playing because that way sucks. And understand, everything we do right now has to be for the 2030 census because then our schools can be refunded. Then our politicians should be in place by then. And then we can be on top. Seriously, it's a 10-year situation. 10 years. It doesn't take a long time. But we must, as a nation, do it. We must do it as a nation, inside of a nation. If you're not willing to do it, stop complaining. Oh, this ain't never going to work. Based on what? HRap, you don't know what you're talking about. Based on what? Because if you started a campaign that everything I'm saying and it didn't work, then I'm going to shut up and then I'm going to have to come up with a new plan. But if you just telling me it ain't going to work because you don't think it's going to work, then shut the hell up. Either shut the hell up or come in and say, hey, here's what we need to do. But the system says we need to do this. We're going to do it. Because they have created a force, a magnum force to slow down everything that we're doing and destroy everything we're doing. And if you are willing to allow that magnum force to take you out, then it's going to take you out. Period, point blank, end of the sentence. This is not a game this ain't even a game. This is life. Because all of us have youngers. My kids don't have any kids, but at some point they will. So my grandkids need to live in a better world than I did. Period. And we ain't doing no more protesting and boycotting and all that. What we're going to do is withdraw our funds. And then we start calling the Nikes. We start calling the Jeff Bezos. We start calling the Adidas. We start calling all these people that we shop with on a regular basis. And you go to the Urban League and you tell the Urban League, hey, y'all not doing enough. And then we take over that, and we take over the NAACP, and then we take over in Chicago Operation Push, and then we got people in the nation. We have too many organizations already in place that can help us that we don't utilize. And then we must learn our history so you can stop saying what's not going to happen, because guess what? 158 years ago, people didn't think, well, let's say 175 years ago, people didn't think that we would be in the situation we're in now. They hoped. And if they could hope their way out of that situation, we can do our way out of this one. With that being said, it's the middle of the show, y'all. I want to show y'all some of our glorious history, some history that we need to know about. And then it'll show you that we can do anything what Africa has done and Africa can do. Stay tuned. Look at this, and I'll be right back.
I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich. Welcome to the Black Excellence and Abundance Channel. Former NBA player Junior Bridgman bought Ebony magazine, and he believes he can return it to its former glory. Ulysses Lee, Junior Bridgman, may be best known for his time as an NBA player in the 70s and the 80s with the Milwaukee Bucks. He had a solid 12-year career in the league, playing most of his time in Cream City, where they retired his number 2 jersey in 1988. Bridgman was originally drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers, but was shipped to Milwaukee in the blockbuster Kareem Abdul-Jabbar trade. Bridgman always had a penchant for business, and during his NBA offseason, he would study and learn the business model of Wendy's fast food restaurant franchise. Following his retirement from the NBA, he invested in the franchise and eventually became the owner of over 160 Wendy's and 120 Chili's restaurants before cashing out in 2016. Today, his net worth is estimated to be around $600 million. As the president and CEO of Bridgman Foods, Inc., in 2017, he landed a deal to become the official bottler for the Coca-Cola Company. He didn't stop there, as in 2018, he signed a letter of intent to buy bottling operations in Canada. Bridgman is a living example of how an athlete utilizes the benefits of his physical talents to forge a greater existence, making connections and expanding his economic potential. His NBA career was formidable and provided him the financial foundation to become an all-star player in the business world. His latest venture is adding the famed Ebony magazine to his incredible portfolio. With Bridgman Sports and Media, a company also owned by the retired Bucks player, he was awarded the successful bid to buy Ebony Media Assets, which also houses the legendary magazine. He believes he can return the magazine to profitability with the right ideas and the right staff to execute those ideas. Ebony spent the first 72 years from 1945 to 2017 of existence in Chicago. Bridgman, a native of East Chicago, Indiana, grew up roughly 30 miles from Chi-Town and believes the magazine can return to its glory days on the Chicago River. The magazine also launched as an influential monthly lifestyle magazine that documented the African American experience for better than 7 decades. Throughout its legendary run, Ebony has stood for Black excellence, showing people doing positive things that in many cases benefited everyone. The current media landscape is hardly conducive to launching a publication. Ad-funding journalism has sharply declined. Digital subscribers, bases for newspapers and magazines, have proved hard to increase. And that's not to mention the COVID-19 pandemic, which has crushed fledgling print and digital outlets. And yet Michelle G, who's been tapped to relaunch iconic black magazines Ebony and Jet, said she's up for the challenge. She's taking over as chief executive after the publication's purchase. This is personal for me, she said in an exclusive interview days before the sale was finalized. In describing why she wanted to lead the resurgence of these brands, the Oakland native cited a desire to build a company she would want to go to every day, one that celebrates the fullness of the black experience and responds to what black readers want from their media. She knows the path ahead for Ebony and Jet is daunting, but she knows can be achieved. From the very beginning, Ebony and Jet has long chronicled black and American history. These publications would print stories that the white publications ignored. For example, the now infamous photo of Emmett Till's mutilated body taken by a Jet magazine staff photographer. This was the magazine's September 15, 1955 cover, but white publications refused to print it. Or Monetta Sleep Jr.'s Pulitzer-winning image of Coretta Scott King holding her daughter Bernice in a front row pew at Martin Luther King Jr.'s funeral. Sleep was a longtime staffer at Ebony. For many, Ebony and Jet were early sites of possibility tools that they could use to access potential ways of being beyond readers' immediate environment and circumstances. It gave an up-close and personal look through visuals and written word at black entrepreneurs, musicians, models, writers, and other celebrities who were underplayed or downright ignored by the other media. Ebony and Jet did for self. Bridgman said he believes he can return it to profitability with the right ideas and the right execution. More important, he said, is returning it to a place of prominence in American culture. Nothing is ever easy, but this will be a labor of love. Growing up in East Chicago, Bridgman said he viewed Johnson Publishing's former headquarters with a sense of pride. John H. Johnson was an American businessman and publisher. Johnson was the founder of the Johnson Publishing Company. His Ebony and Jet magazines were among the most influential African American businesses in media beginning in the first half of the 20th century. In 1982, Johnson became the first African American to appear on the Forbes 400 list. In 1987, Johnson was named Black Enterprise Entrepreneur of the Year. Johnson's first publication was the Negro Digest. Once the idea of Negro Digest occurred to him, it began to seem like a black gold mine. Johnson stated in his autobiography, Succeeding Against the Odds. He remained enthusiastic even though he was discouraged at all sides from doing so. Only his mother, a woman of biblical faith and deep religious convictions, as well as a powerful belief in her son, supported his vision and allowed him to use her furniture as collateral on a $500 loan. He used this loan to publish the first edition of Negro Digest in 1942. Although Negro Digest achieved some success at its height and had a circulation of more than 100,000, it was dwarfed by Johnson's next publication, Ebony, which was so popular that its initial run of 25,000 copies easily sold out. The articles in Ebony, which were designed to look like those in Life or Look magazines, emphasized the achievements of successful African Americans. Professional historians were recruited for the magazine staff so that the contributions of African Americans to the history of the United States could be adequately documented. African American models were used in magazine's advertisements, and a conscious effort was made to portray positive aspects of African American life and culture. John H. Johnson became a multi-millionaire, and his contributions to this society will never be forgotten. We are absolutely thrilled that Ulysses Lee Jr. Bridgman has decided to purchase the Johnson publication Ebony and Jet to keep the legacy going. Thank you, Mr. Bridgman, and may God be with you.
Thank you for staying tuned. This is your man HRap coming at you live and direct as I always do. Thank you again for tuning in. This is also built for this network. Actually, it's primarily built for this network. The YouTube thing is the thing that I sprung out on my own. The built for this network is the primary network. Now, as you saw, man, there's nothing that you can't do because, see, what we always say is what they won't let us do. They won't let us do this and they won't let us do that. But here's the thing. If they didn't stop our ancestors in Wilmington, North Carolina, if they didn't stop our ancestors in Peoria, Illinois, Liberty City, Florida, Africatown, Los Angeles, Piedmont Park, I think that's the name of the area, Africatown in Alabama, a black man, and I'm gonna highlight him next week, or actually I'm gonna highlight him Saturday. A black man financed Memphis, Tennessee, and that wonderful town of Tulsa, Oklahoma that we love to talk about. He also put that in play. If we could do all that 100 years ago, what can't we do right now with even more resources, even more access to money, and we can contact each other and put ourselves in the best possible situation. So stop allowing other people to tell you what is and what is not, and start telling yourself what can be. And what can be is you can be in a situation in which you won't be stopped. But if you choose to be let down, you will let yourself down because we going to keep moving. I'm not going to let us fail. Point blank, period. That's the end of the sentence. And just to show you that the people who are opposed to us, the people who thought that the January 6th insurrection was the right thing to do, these people are also in office. These are the people, these are the lawmakers throughout the United States of America. These are the people which in the last 7 months, 8 months, some of you guys' voting rights have been stripped away. And the reason I bring that up is in 13 states, they've changed they've made it more difficult. And then they simplify things and say, hey, well, like this clown in Texas was talking about, it was at a congressional meeting. She was talking about you need an ID to do everything. Why wouldn't you need an ID to vote? And if you want to simplify things, that's awesome. But you can also stop making it so difficult to get an ID. You can also understand that some of these people who have been living in the exact same house, voting in the exact same precinct, in the exact same building for the last 50 years, why do they need to show ID now? They've been doing it for the last umpteen years. Why would you change the rules now? And if they're seniors, you're making it more difficult. When you have foolish laws like if I'm living in Arizona and my grandmother has 6 friends who are all seniors, I could go get their ballots and drop them in the box. That's illegal in Arizona now. Or if I'm living in the state of Georgia and those same 6 friends that hang out with my grandmother, they help raise me and they I cut their grass and all that stuff. And so I'm going to drive them down to the polling place. And when I'm at the polling place, I hand them water. I go to jail. You hear that? They're at the polling place in line. They're seniors, and then what do I do as an honorable young man? Well, I ain't a young man. I'm a young man to them, but as an honorable young man, I go get 6 waters, and I go to jail for that because that's illegal. Because they made it illegal to hand out water at a polling place. But we're not trying to do this to hurt anybody. We just don't. You can't make sense of that. That's nonsense. Period. Point blank, full stop. We're not going to go any further. That is asinine. That is moronic. So when you set up things like that, what you're doing is, anybody who knows our community, they know the seniors out of North Star in regards to civic duty. Our seniors exercise their civic duty at every turn. And if you are trying to prevent my seniors from voting, you are in essence trying to destroy my community. If you're trying to destroy my community, I must do any and everything humanly possible to stop you. So I'm going to add my statement. Yes, I want them to just simply get out of our way, and we also have to get out of our own way. That was by my man Rated Kev. If you are in the chat room, I need you to subscribe to Rated Kev's channel. He's not only on my show occasionally, he has his own situation. It's awesome. He talks about a myriad of things. Whatever's on his mind, that's what he's going to talk about. And he has not missed yet. And I don't anticipate him ever miss. I don't miss a show. So I need you to do the same. If you support me, please support Rated Kev. If you support Built for This Network, support Rated Kev. And all it takes is Rated Kev, RAIDERKEB on YouTube. Support my brother. He needs it. We need it. And then we're going to move forward. But like I was saying, man, these are the things that we need to do. We need to be aware of these things, because if voting don't count, I have never, ever seen somebody put together a law or put together obstacles for things that are not important. Period. If you don't think this is important, then cool. It's understandable. I understand where you're coming from, and I'm not going to debate you, because I'm out of the prove you wrong business. I really don't. I don't give a damn about being right or wrong. I give a damn about my people. And if you want to be willfully ignorant, God bless you. I'll see you down the road. Hopefully, if not, I'm not going to miss you either. That's just the way it goes. I'm good with that either way. And this is what we have to do. We must engage civically. We must put ourselves in the best possible situation. We must stop talking and start doing. And that will be the bane of this show for the rest of the time. I'm going to have my guests. I'm going to have people who inspire you, uplift you, and motivate you. But the goal is to do that in order to put ourselves in the best possible situation. To salute to Queen Mother Karen Hunter, we need to be healthy, we need to be wealthy, and we need to be wise. When I end the show, you can go back and see what I posted about how to build your immune system. Is at the top of the show. It takes I think it's about 6 minutes long. Hey, when the show ends, go back. If you hate the show, just look at that. You don't have to like me. Look at that, and it'll enrich you. And then that's a reason to come back and say he's a dummy, but he puts up good stuff about health. Go from that perspective. Now, what I'm going to do is talk about sports for a little while. And sports inculcates itself to our community as well. So we play a gigantic role in the sports entertainment world of the United States of America. And until we realize the power that we will continue to have that power used against us like the whips that were used against us 200 years ago. And I'm not overstepping, because the money that is being earned is being used against our young people. I was talking to a friend today, and I was like, this guy got signed. And the first thing he said was how much money they made. And they're not going to pay this. But the money they are paying these athletes is chump change. As I said 1,000 times before, if you have enough wherewithal to earn enough money to give somebody $1 billion so you can own a team, that means you are a money-making guy or woman. You are a financial stalwart. So you don't get into something. You don't give people $1 billion unless you know you're going to get 5 back. So when you talk about a couple $100,000 they're paying these players, look at it this way. We talk about $75, $80 million a year to $1 billion industry. So who wouldn't do that? $75 million over here, and then I get 350 back. This concept of small market, that must be done away with. Let's not even talk about it. First and foremost, what we need to do is stop talking about how much our young brothers make. See, the reason they put the money out in front of what a young black man makes is to turn you against that young black man. It breeds jealousy. And then you start saying what he should do. And then you start resenting him. And then when you say he makes $20 million a year, and if he strike out, do you see that? That's what we get for $20 million a year. He makes $20 million a year. He misses a free throw. See, $20 million, they turn you against you. What they make is not your interest, because guess what? That's a human being at that free throw line. That's a human being at the bat. That's a human being that missed that block because he's tired or he's injured. More than likely, he's injured. But we say, oh, well, they're making all that money. So what? So what? Because if you're not going to work every day, which most of us are, and giving 110% and doing jumping jacks in between jobs, if you've been late from break before, or if you've been late from lunch before, if you've been late at work, or if you've been, I just don't feel like it today, they can't do. More than likely, they can't do that. So stop it with looking at what they make and dehumanizing them, because that's what the mainstream media wants you to do. Look at the games, enjoy the games, argue with the TV, call them a scrub, call them a buster, and do that. I made a mistake. Before I go into sports, I want to go give you another example of the system is against us. In Nassau County, New York, they just passed a law today. Well, not today. Yeah, it was today. It was yesterday, but they passed a law that police officers can sue citizens for harassment. So if you out there at a rally and you blah, 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 you mouthing off at the police officer in Nassau County in New York, and they don't understand that that's the testing ground, because those kinds of things will show up everywhere to prevent protests. And again, that's why I said no more protests, no more boycotts. What we're going to do is withdraw our funds and make people come to us. And then when they come to us, hey, what's going on? Hey, you let that law get passed, you ain't step up and speak up. Well, don't talk to us until that gets removed. And when they remove that money from those politicians, and when those politicians take that law away, then y'all come talk to us. Then we'll start sharing some of our money with you. That's how we do it. But the first question that came to my mind when I saw this law being passed, a police officer can sue me because I'm arguing with him, or I'm calling him out, or whatever they do at protests, because I've never been to one or participated in one. If you can deem that as harassment, can I sue the city and the state when I get stopped and frisked because I'm on my way home? I'm walking into my apartment building, I'm walking into my home, or I'm just walking down the street minding my own business, and the police start harassing me. Is that okay? Can I sue him for harassment then too? Because if I can sue him for harassment, then I'm good. It's a great law then. But it's not unilateral, therefore we got a problem. And again, this is why I'm telling you, 5 call apps. Be civically involved, because when you're civically involved, you can get things like this taken off the books, and you can make it so they can never come up with something like this. And that's it, and that's all. But back to the money. We must stop demonizing our young people for following their dreams. Well, they could fund this program, they could fund that program with all the money they got. You never say that when you see a Tom Hanks movie, one of those lousy ass Tom Hanks movies, or some of those lousy ass Kevin Costner movies, or some of those dudes who get $20 million to work on a set for 6 to 8 weeks and they get $25 million. You don't say nothing to them. You know, our brother Samuel Jackson made a boatload of bad movies and he get paid well, and I'm glad he enjoying it. But we don't say anything to them. So, but what you do is you disrespect and criticize a young man who comes from your community, who you saw grow up, and he's not doing what the people in the stands say he should be doing. And 75 to 95% of the fans in the stands ain't dribbled, ain't threw, or caught, or hit, or done none of that stuff, but they know what you should be doing. So why don't they shut the hell up too? But they won't, because what they do is they get people from our community to diss you. And when you get somebody from our community to diss the people, that opens the door, just like that man I told y'all about last week, who's in the city council in Alabama, and calling the sister a house name. And he said he called her a house name because the mayor called her a house name. See what I mean? We're going to stop disrespecting each other publicly and falling into the trap publicly. That way in private, they can't say, well, he said it, so I can say it. Period. Another thing, we gon' never, we need to stop criticizing our sister Simone Biles like jackasses like Fat Boy, who got kicked off Fox and ESPN and every other place he did work. Now he has his own platform and he's being supported wildly, and it's insanely disrespectful what he's doing. And he's dissing the young sister Simone Biles, saying she's a quitter. But why didn't you get on TV and say she was a superhero 4 years ago when the teen doctor was molesting her? She was being sexually assaulted by the teen doctor, who's now since dead. I think he hasn't been executed yet, but he's doing life in prison. So it was okay for the teen doctor to molest this woman, and she had to deal with it. And the very people who calling her a quitter and saying that she's not supposed to do this, they didn't support her, and you don't hear about her, because if she was a white girl, you best to believe she'd be a national hero. You best believe she'd be a national hero if she's a white girl. If our young sister Simone Biles had beat sexual assault, went in and won 6 gold medals, and been the face of the Olympics last year, and she was a white girl, we still talk about Mary Lou Retton in 1984. And she ain't overcome anything, from what I understand. But Simone has to be perfect. She has to stick the landing. She has to do the dismounts, everything. She has to do everything perfectly and have that on her mind. No, I'm not with the nonsense. And then you got Sister Gwen Berry. You tell Gwen Berry, she's an activist, and you don't want any activism at your at your championships. And when she go out there, you play the anthem. So she activates her activism because you ain't live up to your word. But again, you got people from our community who understand that the police whooping on our heads. Nobody's doing anything. The schools are underfunded. Nobody's doing anything. They don't even want the sisters to wear their hair the way they want to wear them, and the brothers too to wear the locks. But you still want them to stand up and salute, and no. And we're going to go back to the old school black rules. You got something to say about a brother or sister, you don't say it in public. You say it at the cookout. Because we ain't going to talk about family business public anymore. You know? It's time to go back to that. I'm not saying anybody is above reproach. But until I start seeing legions and legions of people from other cultures disrespecting their people, their athletes saying what they shouldn't do, I ain't going to sit around and say it about mine. If your people ain't done nothing, mine ain't either. Like I keep telling y'all, most people don't even know that Robert Blake was around when his wife was killed. Most people don't know he was on trial for killing his wife, and he beat it too. He was a celebrity too. He was a bigger celebrity than damn OJ, because he was a celebrity when black and white TV was in effect, clean up until the late 90s. Nobody talks about it. So we ain't gonna talk about our problems. And you're not gonna tell me, hey man, show me your scar, and then you go, I ain't showing you mine. No. We gonna on 3, we gonna show, and then if you don't show yours, I ain't never showing mine ever again. Or I might not ever show mine to begin with. So we're not gonna let people disrespect our ladies, no matter if they're lady athletes, lady models, ladies whatever, our brothers either. I keep telling y'all, man, that hedge we need to put around our community to protect them. And if you don't do it, you're not willing to do it, you're probably the problem. And then we're not going to celebrate the fact that college athletes are now getting paid. Oh, way to go. Yeah, it's a good thing. But see, what it is you got schools like University of Michigan with billions of dollars in their endowment, Georgetown, the University of DePaul, North and South Carolina universities, Alabama, billions of dollars in their endowment so they can pay. They can pay. But how important is money? That's really the question that we need to ask ourselves. How important is money? Now, we got to get paid so money can matter. I get it. You got bills. You want to take your mother out of a bad situation. But would you want to go to a situation until, Sister Charlotte said, until you walk a mile in someone's shoes? We have no rights to criticize. No one has the right to throw stones. Exactly. A better question. The owners pay him and why he's no longer trying to enrich the community. We know the answer, but let's get these guys, hold these guys accountable. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Lady Kev. Thank you, Charlotte. Now, as I was stating, how important is the money? If we took another statement from Charlotte, if we took the portion of the destructive energy and lifted one another, we would be really doing something. Say it again, Charlotte. Thank you again. God bless you. And back to the money. The money. How important is the money? Look, I'm not going to tell somebody to turn down $100,000, $200,000. I'm not going to turn down that. But here's the beautiful thing about it. Would you rather go to USC, Alabama, University of Michigan, University of Florida, or one of these big Texas, one of these big time schools, and ride the bench and get $25,000? I mean, get maybe $50,000, $60,000. Or would you rather go to an HBCU and play and get $25,000? Because guess what? If you're used to nothing, then what? I got my man Rello in the building, Navy Blues. If you're used to nothing, then $25,000 looks like $1 million. I'm going to say that again. If you're used to nothing, then $25,000 looks like $1 million. And then you continue to build your community, your personal community. You build your community. See, let's not be bought off. We've been bought off several thousand times, hundreds of thousand times. So let's not be bought off again. And let's not forget, man, at the end of the day, if they take the top 100 and then the rest of them go to HBCUs and enrich those institutions, and we put pressure on those institutions to enrich our communities, and then we get our communities enriched and uplifted, we win. So do we want young men to not take that $100,000? I would be crazy to say don't do it. But if you're on the fringe, maybe you can consider it. I just ask that you consider it. That's all. That's how we uplift the community. Don't always go for the big money. Just go for what's right. And again, I'm not telling hey man, I'm not going to look down on you either way. I'm not going to be, man, you should have did this. Because that would be insane. That would be legally insane. Period. That's it. Period. Point blank. That's the insanity that we would ensue. That would be raw dog, buck naked insanity. Period. But there's nothing wrong with considering the HBCU just like Shaq's kids. Shaq has the money to put his kids in any institution in the United States of America, and 2 of his children are going to HBCUs. We must invest in ourselves if we really want to get over this hump. We are already skating uphill, ice skating uphill in America. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. With that being said, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to the Built to Fitness Network. Side, I have been noticing you guys. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is really appreciated you tune in. Thank you for the support. It's important to me, and I'll do everything I can to make our community better. And thank you for the people who tuned in on YouTube and the people who haven't even made themselves, their presence known. And those are the people in the background. I appreciate you for listening. I'll tell you how much I appreciate you because I'll be talking to you, but I appreciate the support across the board. With that being said, if you're not busy, I really would appreciate if you go to BS3 Radio on YouTube and in about an hour, you'll see 3 Kings, 1 King, 3 Queens, 1 King. That's my man, Doc. He'll be on. It's a wildly entertaining show. I'm talking about wildly entertaining. And then I want you to subscribe to my man, Fine as Wine. Fine as Wine. It's my man, D. Dope brother. Support him. Needs you to do that. And I need to go to, it's a bunch of things I need you to support. And what I'm going to need you to do, the people who support me, and we're in this little podcast universe together, I need you to send me something so I can remember who to tell the people to support, because that's what I'm going to do going forward. Remember, when I came into this universe, that's what I was doing. And I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to start doing it again because it's important. It's important. So, with that being said, I want to thank you. And I'm going to salute you the way I do every week by saying, dream those dreams and man up and woman up, lead up. Man up and woman up and live those dreams, because life without dreams flows in black and white, and life with dreams flows in technicolor surround sound. And my new exit on my show is do something before something is done to you. This is Built for This Network. I am HRap. This is the End of the Bench podcast, Build and Destroy, where I build up the community, destroy the rhetoric and the propaganda. 2 fingers, 1 word. I'm your man, HRap, and I'm
Built for This Network, for the strong, not the weak.